Alright, writing songs, coming up with musical ideas, and releasing songs quickly. That's what we're discussing today. We're often busy with other obligations in our life, like day jobs, children, pets, errands, other things. And we don't always have infinite time or a lot of time to be writing songs, recording them, releasing them, even just playing them. But it's really easy to miss the spontaneity of simply recording a song whatever you feel like and sharing it with the world. And I miss that. So this year I've planned to write more unplanned songs, which is kind of funny to say, but you get the idea. And I've done exactly that. I've released my single, Jupiter Workshop, on all major streaming services, so go check it out. I wrote it and recorded it with this guitar right here. But even if you're not into extended range, multi-scale, 8-string guitars, and trust me, the 6-string guitars feel the most like home to me, but I just felt like doing something different. Stick around anyway, because I'm going to talk about my writing process, some ideas maybe to inspire you, and the importance of writing and releasing songs quickly. So for this song, there's no goal, no bigger picture, just simply write the song, have fun with it, and release it. And I did so in about a day's worth of time, so 12 hours. I wrote the song in about 2 hours. I took 2 hours to mix and master it when the recording was done, so everything else I did in that span of 8 hours. And when I say 12 hours, I don't mean in just one contiguous day. I don't have that kind of time to sit around doing that. I mean over the course of a bit over a week. So about a few hours every day. I'm thinking of making this a series. Technically, this is the second video in the series. The first video was a simple playthrough of a song I made. This one I'm getting more in-depth to my writing process and my thoughts on this kind of thing. But I do want to keep making music, and I do want to keep making spontaneous songs. So let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. And also let me know if you'd like to see a music video for this song. Although I will be playing some demo parts, some demonstrations. And by the way, you can get the full tabs for it for guitar and bass on Patreon. So first, let's go over the writing process and let me describe how I wrote the song. I did use some music theory, but I'm pretty much self-taught. So if I get a few ideas or concepts wrong, I'm sorry. And I will demonstrate a few things here or there on guitar, but be sure to grab the tabs if you'd like to learn how to play the song. Alright, so starting the song, I arbitrarily picked a BPM of 133. I didn't think about it too deeply, I was already feeling the crush of the time limit. And then I picked a key, and I picked D minor, and that's because my guitar here is down a whole step. So you've got your highest string, the typical E string is actually a D string for me. So hitting that 12th fret is a D. I did think about eventually modulating or changing keys to get E minor. I did think about modulating or changing keys to eventually get to E minor, because this being an 8th string and it being down a whole step, that lowest string is E. Simple stuff. I started the song with some clean chords just to get the ball rolling. I figured I'd do I guess it's kind of cliche, start off clean and gentle and then explode into metal. If it works, it works. From there, I threw on some leads with Overdrive and a split coil tone. I had some palm muting going on, and then a little just lead thing. And then it was time to burst into metal, so I did the power chord and just some harmonized simple leads. I love that kind of stuff. And then where to go to there? I was trying to think of what to do next, and the first thing that came to mind would be a position 2 kind of split coil thing. So I came up with a riff and did that. And this is a part of the song where maybe it was becoming too ambitious. That is one of my bad habits. I come up with some grand idea that ends up being difficult to play despite having good intentions. So this was the hardest part of the song. But one interesting thing about this is that I went to G minor or G Dorian here. I don't play the 6th. And that is the 4th when you're in D minor, which is where we were. This way I could get to using the low string right here and get that G, while still being kind of in key, but I'm emphasizing that G at this point. And of course, music theorists, please correct me in the comments if I say anything incorrect. So having this riff be in the Dorian mode and having the riff end on the F, I'm really trying to do the whole modal interchange thing to turn this G Dorian into G minor. Because again, I want to use that low string, and I do want to eventually somehow get to E minor. And that was basically the main driving engine in this song to try and come up with what would happen next. Having a simple idea, starting in D minor, trying to get to E minor, stopping at G Dorian to G minor. That was really helping me come up with riffs. So maybe it's not a typical way like a verse chorus thinking about structure for songwriting, but this kind of idea helped me complete the song. And maybe for you, if you're getting some writer's block and you don't know what to put next, you don't know if you should do a chorus or a verse, some kind of bridge thing, you can always step back and draw inspiration from other sources, be it some kind of music theory problem you're trying to solve. Maybe you like the sound of some kind of riff. Maybe you can build the whole verse around how a chord sounds. Hey, that's pretty cool. So going back to the song, after that riff, I wanted sort of a classical kind of thing with a simple arpeggio. I didn't want to do a super dramatic kind of sweep pick. I was thinking, man, how am I going to do a song super quickly and have all these crazy sweeps in it? That would take days just to learn alone. So I did some arpeggios, some triads, simple stuff, and I go down the scale, the G minor scale, and I throw in some interesting things, make sure that second degree is the diminished, and I like how it turned out. So finally, it's time for a kind of chorus. I came up with this lead line that doesn't start on the first beat, just to make things a little bit interesting. Made sure it was something simple enough you could sing along with it. All right, now that we have that chorus line done, it's time to go from G minor to E minor. So this next section, I use some ringing clean arpeggios. And I went for that modern-ish dead note thing, and I meandered my way on down. I used more modal interchange to go from G minor to G Phrygian, so the second becomes flat, G to A flat instead of G to A. And then I was going to have the third then, the B, help us get to that E minor, because B to E is the fifth. And that would have been a strong way to do it, but for some reason I was really feeling the C, that kind of minor sixth. And I'm personally a sucker for the minor sixth, so I did this basically impulsively, spur of the moment. Again, there wasn't too much time to think about things. And then I went to E, and after that it was time to bring back that arpeggio thing I did earlier. Although this time I would change it up. Not only are we in a different key, E minor instead of G minor, but I wanted to play the arpeggios up here instead of down low. And I was thinking, let's make it even more interesting. Let's try to palm mute it and play each note twice, as 16th notes or something. So I did that, I listened to it, and it wasn't sounding great, so I was thinking, do I stick to this and try to stubbornly clean it up, or do I simplify it, have it easier to play, have it be more fun to play, and have it sound better? And I decided to pick the latter. I re-recorded the part with eighth notes. And I think there's a valuable lesson here. Just because you have an idea and in your head it sounds cool, maybe it doesn't work out in practice when you're actually doing it. And so in that case, it can be good to not stubbornly stick to it and sabotage the song. Changing things up a bit can help. It'll make it easier, it'll make it more fun, and it'll possibly sound better. So doing this, I came up with a solo just for fun, just played some stuff. A good way to write a solo is to break it up into 1 or 2 measure parts and string some licks together. Of course, you have to think about things like phrasing, timing, all that stuff. But if you're just getting started and trying to write a solo just to have something, put a bunch of stuff together. You can always come back, change it up, make it better. And this brings us to the chorus again, and we are in this E minor key. So first I played it like it was before, but I throw in some variations in the beginning after a few repetitions. And so finally I wanted to close out the song. It was starting to get towards the time limit. I would still need a few hours to mix and master things. So I thought, well, I have an 8 string. I want to do something kind of interesting. When you think 8 strings, of course, you think Meshuggah, you think odd time signatures. So let's do that. And of course, the thing I wrote doesn't sound like Meshuggah at all. More like I just wanted to do something with odd time signatures. I used a bunch of the low open string, threw in some palm muting because why not, and I just threw in some notes from the scale here and there to give it some accents. The result of this turned out different than what I was thinking, but I was okay with it. I was thinking, should I do anything else for this, but that seemed like a pretty good end to the song. So let's talk about some overall thoughts. Should music be this big planned out thing? Or should you write music as you go, like in this case? You could take it even a step further and have your songs be complete improvisations. There's loop stations, you could improvise with other musicians. And of course, there are merits for each. For this song, obviously I picked that middle path, writing as I go. Your creative process is allowed to be different. And of course, because of the time frame that I imposed, the natural choice was to use intuition, just to write as I went. There simply was not enough time to write a song, think about it, make some changes, etc. I was writing things out, I made the tab as I was going, but I did have my guitar in my lap. I was playing things and putting it into the tablature. Due to the time constraints, I was forced to ask myself, okay, what comes next? What comes after this part? And going with the first thing I thought of, sometimes in some cases the second thing I thought of. And I found this actually helped drive completion. Because there was no time to think about it and get stuck in circles, things were getting done. Maybe this kind of approach can help you if that's what you end up falling into. The downside of this approach is, of course, you're not planning things out. So it does become easy to accidentally make something too ambitious. You think, oh, it would be really cool if this thing came next. And it's like in Jurassic Park, you're so busy thinking about whether or not you could, you don't stop to think if you should. And when these things do happen, you have to face the decision of, okay, do I stick with this and try to work with it, or do I redo it? Do I re-record it? And those can be tough decisions because time is limited. It is a good idea to get a skeleton of a song and iterate on that. It is easier to iterate on something than to write something from scratch. But if you're going back and changing every little thing and changing this and changing that, you're never going to get anything done. And the whole purpose of this exercise, this idea, is to get the song done. So take it on a case-by-case basis, but be careful. Of course, the flip side is if you're not getting stuck on every little thing and thinking, okay, what comes next, and going with it, you get to a complete song pretty quickly. I find for me, for my writing process, is I make that skeleton of a song. I put in what feels like should come next using intuition, music theory just a little bit, and then I'll go back and improve parts. Maybe some copy-pasted things, I'll put in some variation, for example. Maybe I'll add some extra harmonies. Maybe I'll change some riff or some lick, some melody. Because it is easier for me to improve upon something that's there than to try and get it all perfect the first time. I find when I do that too, I'm setting myself up for frustration. When I write something and it isn't, completely perfect, it can be pretty demoralizing, especially after a long day at work. But allowing yourself to finish the song, finish each part, put them all together, and saying, hey, this flows, this goes together. Is it the best thing in the world? No, but it's complete. You can then go back and it's easy to identify, well, this was kind of clunky. I'll change this around a little bit. I think I've learned this lesson because in the past I've done a lot of video game music covers. And with that, sometimes all you have is just a little 16-second loop or something like that. And to turn that into a full cohesive song, you have to get creative. So why do this? Many of us have other responsibilities, other things to do in life. There's always something, but many of us also love guitars. Many of us love music, and we want to write music, whether it's to fill the world with music, whether it's to get better at making music, to improve our skills, whether it's to give ourselves an excuse to play guitar. It's nice to create. This is our art. This is our craft. For some people, it's even their purpose. So doing something like this can be a great way to motivate you to get something done, to finish a song. It can be pretty intimidating to write some songs and put them out there, show them to the world. You might consciously or subconsciously find ways to procrastinate, to not finish the song. So something like this is a good mechanism for getting it done, saying, hey, there's this limited amount of time, you have a whole bunch of other things to do, so you just have to get this done. It's pretty effective. Of course, you have to want to make a song. Don't torture yourself doing something you don't want to do. There are many ways to enjoy these instruments, whether you're making a song, releasing a song, playing with a band, or just playing on your own. So hopefully this idea, these thoughts, can help motivate you to make music. You can do it, and the more you do it, the better you'll get. You're not going to write that perfect song the first time, maybe not the second time, maybe not the fifth time. I'm still trying to figure out how to write good songs. But you will get it someday, and you will enjoy the music you make. So the key question, the key thought, how do you make good music? The songs we make are not going to be perfect, not the first time, not the third time. We can only asymptotically get towards perfection or even goodness, good music. So there's a balance then of doing the best you can versus completing the song and releasing it, putting it out. And if you're worried about the people who will overly criticize you and try to tear you down, just ask yourself, what kinds of people are those who would do that? With this video, I wanted to share my writing process and hopefully give you some inspiration, motivation, or some ideas for writing and completing songs. It was also really fun talking about the song I made. And of course, it was a great excuse to play some guitar. I do typically play 6-string guitars, and that will always feel like home to me, but it was nice to have an excuse to use the 8-string. There you have it. Be sure to stream my song, Jupiter Workshop, on your favorite streaming service, be it Spotify, YouTube Music, iTunes, Amazon, etc. And of course, the tabs are on Patreon. And you know, this is YouTube, so I have to say the YouTube things. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, print out every frame and mail it. Maybe don't do that. Join the Discord, check out the Patreon, become a channel member, do a backflip, and as always, peace.